Hello everyone and welcome back for another Heffy Doodle video. This is Cassie and today we are going to be using this adorable stamp set that you see here. This is the Llamazing Llamas. I love the little llamas on there and we do have the matching dies. Those llamas just have my heart. They're so stinking cute. We also have the Arizona stencil, which has some great options here, and we're going to use that bottom portion. We also have some alcohol marker friendly cardstock because, as you guessed it, we're going to be doing some alcohol marker coloring. So I'll pull out the scrap that I have and I'm going to pull out a couple of our llamas. This card's actually going to be fairly simple, but with the background we end up making, it will be quite dramatic. So I'm going to ink up my images with some alcohol friendly ink, stamp that down, and then we'll get to coloring. And like I said, the coloring is pretty simple as well. I'm going to start with this E41. That is my base coat. I am a lightest to darkest kind of gal, so that's where we're going to start. And I'll just put down a wash of that E41, that light color. And we're going to do it for both of them. We're going to use a stippling technique. And I've done this before, but this is just going to be using dots. We're going to get our texture with the dots. And for an image like a llama that has a lot of fluff, it works really, really well. So I am only doing like big dots, small dots, all kinds of sizes of dots. We've got our E43, which is our mid-tone. I will put a little bit on his face or her face, and then I'll just keep doing some stippling where I think there might be a little bit of shadowing and shading coming in. I'm going to bring in an even darker color. This is the E44, again, using little dots, big dots. And until you start blending back, it really doesn't look like much. It doesn't look great. But so we've come in with our E44, and then we're going to go backwards. So I'll do our E43. We'll do a little bit more stippling. That kind of blends out that E44 just a little bit. And then we'll come in with our E41 and we'll do some stippling with that as well. We didn't start like that. We put that down as a base coat, but using this as some stippling in the end does a lot. It does, I mean, it just really makes it pop and makes it look like those little llamas are super fluffy. And then we'll add a little dot for his cheeks. And then we'll get ready to do some die cutting. So I'll pull out the matching dies and my Heffy Doodle mini die cutting machine. Y'all know I love it. I have replaced the pads on this thing a few times because I just use it pretty much every day. So I'll tack those down, grab out my plates, and run that through my die cutting machine. And then we'll be ready to do our background. So our background, as you can see, I've got some Distress Oxide inks up there, and I'll talk about each of the colors as we go. But I'm going to take some Heffy tape. I'm going to put that on my fingers just to protect my fingers a little bit. We all know that if you've used Distress Oxides before, it will pick up your fingerprints, and you will transfer that color. So I'm going to start with some fossilized amber, and I'll blend that not all the way at the bottom because I'm going to do something different at the bottom. But then we're going to come in with that, and I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, KITSCH Flamingo. It is a very light pink. It's really nice. It blends well with our fossilized amber. And then I'm going to come in with our fossilized amber again. These oxides just blend like butter. I know you've heard that before, but they do. And then I'll come in with a darker pink. That darker pink is the Picked Raspberry. And we'll blend that right into our KITSCH Flamingo. And then we'll come in with that KITSCH Flamingo or KITSCH, I can't, like I said, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then we'll blend that back a little bit more. Now we're going to bring in that Villainous Potion, which is such a beautiful purple for the top here. I'm trying to make like a winter desert scene. And these colors, after it's all said and done, do well. It's interesting as you're blending how it looks like 4 different colors that you're trying to make work, but you just keep working it, and then it's your last bits and touches that really make it pop. So I'll come in with a little bit more of that Villainous Potion, and then we're going to bring in our stencil after I clean up my mess. So I've cleaned up my mess. My stencil, once again, is the Arizona stencil. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of that Heffy tape because I'm deciding where exactly I want my stencil to go, but I don't want it to move. I want those to be fairly crisp lines. So we're going to tack that down. And then we're going to come in with some black soot distress ink, not the Distress Oxide. I find that the Distress Oxide has a little bit of a grayish tinge to it, so I want it to be just like a really crisp black and blend beautifully, and Distress ink does. So the Black Soot Distress ink blends beautifully right on top of these oxides, no problem whatsoever, and it gives me this really nice black background. Check it out. It's not there yet. It's starting to look like it, but it's not there yet. So I am going to take a little bit that's left on the brush, maybe even pop it on my pad a little bit more, and just blend that all along the edges. It frames it up a little bit more, and then it really gives that darkened top area, which I love. But now, after we've cleaned up our mess, we're going to pop this into my makeshift splatter box, and I'm going to cover up most of the stenciled area, and then I'm going to bring in this Ink on 3 liquid pixie dust and splatter that all over our background. I'm using the Pear Blossom Press paintbrush rest, which works really well to do some splattering. And you'll see once I pull the paper away, this is what completes this background. This is what makes it look like an absolute beautiful desert night sky in the winter. I love it. And if y'all know me at all, we did live in the desert for a few years, and it was, oh, those sunsets, nothing compares. All right, for our base, I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. We need to stamp out our sentiment, and I already had a scrap that was cut and ready. And this will work perfectly, so I'll bring in my stamp block. I'm going to bring in some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink because it is a very crisp black ink. And I will stamp our sentiment on that. You are pretty Llamasing. And then I do have to do something on the inside because that's just me. So I'll put lots of love. And then we're going to tack down our little llama who's looking super sassy with a little bit of liquid glue. I just thought he'd be fun down there in the corner. And if you know me at all, I have to do 90% of the time, I have to do something on the inside. I can't leave him blank. Just have to have something. So then now we'll be ready to attach down our panel to the front of our card base. Now you could pop this up with some foam tape if you wanted. But I'm going to hit this with my heat tool before I do anything. I want to make sure that that is nice and dry. And then I'll use that same liquid glue and I'll attach this down to our card base. I had trimmed that card panel down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. That's why you see that nice white border. I thought that would really make it pop. And then we're just going to attach this piece to the upper left-hand corner and lining that up on my glass mat, trying to make sure that's straight. I'll let that dry a few seconds and we'll put our llama down. He's just sitting there enjoying the sunset. We'll flip this over and trim off any of our excess. And then when we're done with that, that's actually going to finish off our card for today. So I told you it was fairly simple, but wow, it is quite a dramatic background. And if you like this video, I would love it if you hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Heffy Doodle has going on, whether it be on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, wherever. And we will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.